Welcome back, everybody. It's Bruce from the Epic Experiment, and I am back with brand new deck tech, brand new week, brand new deck tech. We're talking something funky today. We are talking Tawnos the Toymaker. So this is from Brothers War, and it is a peculiar little commander. So it's just 3 green blue for a 3/5 legendary creature, human artificer. Whenever you cast a beast or a bird creature spell, you may copy it, except the copy is an artifact in addition to its other types. So this deck is a bracket 2 deck looking to play onto this idea of making copies of birds and beasts, making it particularly funky and kind of silly, and probably like everyone get a giggle out of it. It's not. I'm not going to say it's a world beater, but it's fun. It's got some cool moves. And it would be, one of those sort of nice change of pace sort of things for most tables. Let's talk our way through this bracket 2 list and get everybody up to speed on it. All right, we have our mana ramp. We'll start there because I think that's probably the most important part of what we do. Okay, because Tawnos is 5 mana to play, you're going to want to ramp. And a lot of the other beasts in the deck are pretty expensive. The birds, a little less so, but there are fewer of those anyway. So we have a Sol Ring. All right, everyone knows Sol Ring. Sol Ring's a goodie. Everyone runs it. Sol Ring. We have an Arcane Signet. So this is Sol Ring's little buddy. They all go together. There we go. We have a Simic Signet. So 2, and it taps for a green or a blue, but you got to pay 1 and a tap. All right. And then we have a Mox Amber. I'm playing the proxy art card of it. I think it should be pretty self-explanatory what a Mox Amber does. But 0 to cast, and it only taps for mana if you have a legendary creature, and it will only tap for colors of the legendary creature that you have in play. All right, now in Commander, that's fine, but I play the proxy because it's probably $100 to get the real one. Then we have some more ramp. We have an Elvish Lanor Elves and a Elvish Mystic. So these guys both mana elves that are just really useful, helping you skip ahead and get ahead on the mana. Then we have Gobu Gardener, so 1 and a green for a 1/3 plant beast, tapped out a green. Well, because it's a beast, if you draw it late in the game, you have Tawnos in play, and you can use this to you have 2 of them now, which is kind of handy. Then we have a Rampant Growth and a Cultivate, both pretty staple-y type cards to have in most decks. Then I've got a Cryptolith Rite. So because, again, things are expensive in this deck, lots of expensive beasts that cost a lot of mana, and you have tokens and things of that nature, then Cryptolith Rite is a really good tool to help you tap them for mana. And then last but not least, a card I'm trying out, we'll see how it goes, is a Realm Reborn. So 4 green, an enchantment, other permanents you control have tap to add 1 mana of any color. So that where I could tap my enchantments, or I could tap tokens, or token treasures, or things that I acquire. All those things can be now tapped for mana too. All right, let's talk about the creatures in this deck, because that's really what it boils down to. What are we going to play to take full advantage of Tawnos' ability to copy them? So the birds, I only have a couple that I think I want to play. So I have a Clownfed Raptor, so a single blue for a 0/1 bird mutant with flying and evolve. And so evolve is a mechanic that whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a +1/+1 encounter on this creature. So you can very easily have that tick up 2, 3, 4 times and be a substantial flyer. And now you have 2 of them that you're going to have 2 Cloudfin Raptors. Seems good. Now, once your Cloudfin Raptors picked up some counters, Thrumming Bird is a pretty handy one. 1 and a blue for a 1/1 flying bird horror with whenever Thrumming Bird deals combat damage to a player, Proliferate. Proliferate is particularly powerful ability, and so you put counters, evolve counters on your Clownfed Raptor, and now they're getting bigger. Then we have a Thieving Magpie. So 2 blue for a 1/3 with flying. Whenever Thieving Magpie deals damage to an opponent, you draw a card. Having 2 Thieving Magpie seems pretty good to go and draw cards. Just get ahead. So, all right, those are all the birds I wanted to play. But I've got a lot more beasts that I'm going to run. Let's talk about the beasts. All right, so I've got Garrick's Harbinger, so 1 green for a 4/3 beast with hexproof from black. Whenever Garrick's Harbinger deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, look at that many cards on the top of your library. You may reveal a creature card or Garruk Planeswalker from among the cards and put it into your hand. Put the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. So this comes down 3 mana for a 4/3 is pretty robust. The hexproof from black is handy. It just means that people can't just casually kill it with a, maybe an Orcish Bowmaster or a removal spell or some other gross thing. And then if you can connect, then it's going to potentially lead you to the spot where you have some card selection and can dig more creatures up. In fact, more beasts. Krosan Warchief. So 2 and a green for a 2/2 creature beast. Beast spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And then 1 and a green to regenerate target beast. This is like a super good card in this deck because of the fact that it A, regenerates them, and B, makes them cost less. So if you have 2 copies of this because you've now made a copy with Tawnos, then you're getting 2 mana off any of your beast spells, which seems pretty good to me. We have a Cyst Bearer. So Cyst Bearer is 2 and a green for a 2/3 with beast with Infect. And so Infect deals combat damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters, and to players in the form of poison counters. So I'm not really looking to infect anybody out of the table. I am looking for a relatively cheap beast to play at 3 mana. Cyst Bearer was the trick. Now, the fact that it can lead to infect death is fine by me. I'm not really that opposed to it, even though it's not the primary focus of this deck. Lovestruck Beast, so 2 and a green for a 5/5. Lovestruck Beast can't attack unless you control a 1/1 creature, and it has Heart's Desire, which is the other half of the adventure here. As a sorcery, create a 1/1 white human creature token. So, again, this is a very cost-effective, 3 mana 5/5. That even if you don't have a 1/1, it's just going to hold the ground pretty well, allow you to block and get to the later stages of the game. Manglehorn, 2 and a green for a 2/2 beast. Manglehorn enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact. Artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. Well, making copies of this to destroy multiple artifacts seems good to me. Chomping Changeling, so 2 and a green for a 1/2 with Shapeshifter. It's a Changeling, so this card is every creature type, including beasts. When this creature enters, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. And again, making copies of it, destroy targets, enchantments, and artifacts. We have an Axebane Ferox, so 2 green for a beast. It is a Death Touch and Haste. Has Ward, collect 4 evidence, and it's a 4/4. So the Death Touch on this is particularly good. People don't really want to mess with it because it just means that something's going to die. So, super handy card. A beast, having 2 of them is even better. Migratory Greathorn. So 3 green for a 3/4 beast with Mutate for 2 and a green. Whenever this creature mutates, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. This is kind of neat with Tawnos. So what ends up happening, if I were to target this elf here with my Migratory Greathorn, what would happen is that Tawnos would see it and make a copy of the Migratory Greathorn, but it would have to target the Wirewood Savage as well. Meaning that you would then have 2 instances of the Migratory Greathorn on the creature, meaning you'd get, the first time it comes down, it would mutate, you get your trigger, and then it happens the second time you get your trigger. But if you then do it another time, because there's 2 instances of Migratory Greathorn on it, you'd get twice the triggers, right? So if you have another mutate creature on top of it, it just gets really complicated, kind of messy. It's kind of a neat interaction. It's probably going to break my head when I actually go to resolve it. But anyway, Migratory Greathorn. We have an Ulvenwald Oddity. So 2 green for a 4/4 with Trample and Haste. It's a beast. And you can transform it for 5 green. And when we transform it, it turns into something really big. Ulvenwald Behemoth. It is a 8/8 with Trample and Haste. And other creatures you control have +1/+1 and have Trample and Haste. Though having it as a 4/4 with Trample and Haste alone is super good. The ability that you could flip it is even better, fantastic, but not really a must. Well, so this is Toxic Sheep Squatch. It is 3 and a green for a 4/4 creature beast with Mutate for 1 green. This is Gem Razor, so this is the one that destroys artifacts and enchantments whenever it mutates. So again, interesting ability. Going to get you make sure that our opponent's artifacts and enchantments are destroyed. Garruk's Pack Leader, so 4 green for a 4/4 beast. Whenever another creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. So card draw is super good. You need it in this sort of deck, and it's probably usually attached to creatures. Excavating Anurid, so 4 and a green for a 4/4 creature frog beast. When Excavating Anurid enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a land. If you do, draw a card. Threshold, as long as 7 or more cards are in your graveyard, Excavating Anurid gets +1/+1 as vigilance. So you're going to sack a land to go and put a land in your graveyard and draw a card. And then if you have Threshold, it gets a counter and it gets vigilance. Yes, please. Turns into a 5/5. Copies of it seem good. There's another card that synergizes with it pretty well if you can get to it. Thragtusk, 4 and a green for a 5/3 beast. When Thragtusk enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life. When Thragtusk leaves the battlefield, create a 3/3 green beast creature token. So this is just going to help stabilize your board and help you pad your life total and all that stuff. Omni Changeling, so 3 blue for a 0/0 Changeling shapeshifter with Convoke. And you may have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it as Changeling. I like the fact that this can target any creature on the battlefield, so whatever the best thing is now going to be, you have a copy too. But sometimes it's just going to be a beast. That's all it is. Make copies of beasts, and there we go. Nylea's Forerunner, so 4 and a green for a 5/3 with Trample and Haste. It's a beast. Sorry, not Haste, it's just Trample. Other creatures you control have Trample. Giving Trample to big beast things is pretty big, but you'd be surprised. Many of them don't have Trample. Owlbear. So 3 green for a 4/4 with Trample is a bird bear. Oh, I guess it's a bird. Anyway, when Owlbear enters the battlefield, draw a card. So again, Tawnos sees it, makes 2 copies. You draw 2 cards. Seems good to me. Garrick's Pack Leader's in play, or 2 of them. Draw some more. Seems good. There's the third mutator, Auspicious Sterix. So 4 and a green. It is an elk beast. It's a 6/6 with mutate for 5 and a green. Whenever this creature mutates, exile the cards from the top of your library until you exile X permanent cards, where X is the number of times this creature is mutated. Put those permanent cards onto the battlefield. Okay, kind of funky. We have a Fangren Marauder, 5 and a green for a 5/5 with a beast. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may gain 5 life. So anytime your opponent starts sacrificing treasures or bloods or clues or mutagen tokens or anything else, I'm going to pick up 5 life at a time, which is a huge chunk of life. Marasa Behemoth, so 4 green for a 5/5 with Trample. It's a beast. Marasa Behemoth gets +3/+3 as long as there is a land card in your graveyard. The Excavating Anurid and this play beautifully together, where one sacks a land and this one cares, and so now it's an 8/8 with Trample. So yeah, seems good. Now I have 2 of them. Cragplate Baloth, so 5 green for a 6/6 a beast with Kicker, 2 and a green. This spell can't be countered. Hexproof, haste. If Cragplate Baloth was kicked, and there's the battlefield with 4+1/+1 counters on it. So if you can kick it, what'll happen is Tawnos will see that you have this thing coming into play, and you'll have 2 copies of the kicked Cragplate Baloth. We have a Wrecking Beast, so 5 green for a 6/6 beast with Riot. This creature enters the battlefield with a choice of +1/+1 counter or haste, and has Trample. Then we've got Mockery of Nature, so 9 mana, 6/5 Eldrazi Beast. It also has Emerge for 7 and a green. When you cast Mockery of Nature, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. The Emerge cost is what interests me here, so you can sack one of your other beasts to help cast this one for cheap. And then if Tawnos is in play, you get 2 copies and you blow up some more things. Basically, this deck is going to hate out artifacts and enchantments your opponents have pretty good. Hydroid Krasis, so X green for a Jellyfish Hydra Beast. It is a 0/0. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain half X life and draw half X cards, round down each time. Flying, Trample, Hydroid Krasis enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Alright, those are all the beasts and birds in this deck. There's some other value pieces that are floating around and some interactions. So let's talk about some of their value. Alright, so in this deck, we've got an Elemental Bond and a Garrick's Uprising. So these are going to be further ways for us to draw cards. So Elemental Bond is 2 and a green. Whenever a creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Well, since I'm going to have copies of beasts coming into play, it's going to allow me to draw a whole bunch of cards. Garrick's Uprising is very similar to 2 and a green. When Garrick's Uprising enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Cool, good to know. Creatures you control have Trample, even better. And then whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So these 2 are going to be draw engines for us to help us keep powering through our deck. We have a Reflections of Lityara, so 4 and a blue for an enchantment. As Reflections of Lityara enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, copy that spell. So I'm choosing beasts. And so whenever I make beasts, I make another copy now, so it gets kind of silly and it's all in a hand. Gretchen Titchwillow. So blue-green for a 0/4. It's a legendary creature, halfling druid. 2 blue-green, draw a card. You may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is a little bit of a way to, if you have some of those managed rocks, particularly the Cryptolith Rite and the Realm Reborn. My idea being I can tap tokens and creatures to activate this to draw cards to dig and to look for stuff. Wirewood Sage. Wirewood Savage. So 2 and a green for a 2/2 creature elf. Whenever a beast comes into play, you may draw a card. Which I have lots of beasts, so I'm hoping to draw lots of cards. Advocate of the Beast. This is 2 and a green for a elf shaman. It's a 2/3. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on target beast creature you control. So again, putting tokens on counters on the beasts seems like a fun thing to do. And then Benthic Druid. Tachiova Benthic Druid is 3 green-blue for a 3/3. Merfolk Druid. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Alright, let's go through some of the other things. We have some other value pieces right here. So, we have a Web of Inertia. This is a funky old card. So it's 2 and a blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of each opponent's combat phase, that player may remove a card in his or her graveyard from the game. If the player doesn't, creatures he or she controls can't attack you this turn. So, I recognize it may not be very effective, but I'm prepared to try it as sort of like a propaganda style effect to make them have to actually pay a cost to attack me. Kiora Behemoth Beckoner, so 2 and a hybrid blue-green is 7 loyalty. Planeswalker Kiora. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you draw a card. Again, just like the Elemental Bond and the Garruk's Uprising. The Earth's Crystal, so 2 green-green. Legendary artifact. Green spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. If 1 or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, twice that many +1/+1 counters are put on the creature instead. 4 green-green and tap. Distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures you control. So this is going to play into some of that +1/+1 counter with Thrumming Bird, and you can sort of get away with it. But it's also got a cost reduction mechanic. So because you're playing expensive beasts, being able to play them a little bit cheaper is helpful. We have a Mightform Harmonizer, so 2 green-green for a 4/4 insect druid. Whenever a land you control enters, double the power of target creature you don't control until end of turn, as warp for 2 and a green. Look, I'm not planning to make multiple land drops regularly, but sometimes it allows you to pump through some damage and smack someone upside the head. I'm pretty okay with it. And then we have Will of the Teamer, so 5 and a blue for a sorcery. Choose 1. If you control a commander, as you cast a spell, you may choose both instead. So first mode is create a creature token as a copy of target permanent, except as a 4/4 dragon creature token with flying in addition to its other types. And target player draws cards equal to the greatest mana value among permanents you control. This seems like a pretty useful spell. It's a little expensive, and so I'm going to have to watch how frequently I can resolve it, but I feel like it's a pretty good card for this sort of deck. All right, let's go through the interaction that I'm going to run to try and make sure I don't die. So regrowth, this is just, if something important dies, I can get it back. I basically run this in every green deck without fail, just because if something dies, you want it back. Then we have a Smell Fear, which is a 1 and a green for a sorcery. It says Proliferate. Target creature you control fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Well, for this, the Proliferate is great. I mean, I might pick up some extra counters with it. I might not. It's the fight spell for 1 and a green, which is pretty cheap, that I'm really looking for, but the proliferation is potentially cool. Signature Slam, so 2 and a green for an instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then, each modified creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So if I have 5 creatures that are wearing a +1/+1 counter, all 5 of them are going to punch something my opponents control, because this is a bite spell, not a fight spell, which is kind of nice. I kind of like that ability too. Put a counter on a thing and then smash something dead. Rapid Vigor, so 1 and a green instant, regenerate each creature you control. Just a little bit of protection against some board wipe, regenerate things. Kind of a funky old ability, but pretty good. Nature's Claim, single green for instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. Again, I am not a big fan of... I find consistently enchantments and artifacts are what cost me games, so I want to kill them as regularly as I can. Growth Spiral, blue and a green for an instant, draw a card. You may put a land from among your hand onto the battlefield. Cool, it's fine, it's an instant. Harmonize, 2 green green, sorcery, draw 3 cards. Okay, just useful. Tezzeret's Gambit, 3 and a hybrid blue. So you can pay 2 life or a blue. Draw 2 cards, then proliferate. I really like to proliferate, and we're going to do a little bit of that here. Mystic Confluence, so 3 blue, instant, choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. Counter target spell, unless its controller pays 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand, draw a card. I've been very high on this card in the past, and I'm going to continue to be very high. It's expensive, but it's going to pretty much do everything you'd ever want it to do. Dissipate, so 1 blue for a counter target spell. Remove that spell from the game, so it exiles the spell. I like this particular art form of the card. I have many other versions of the card, but I like that one, so we're going to play it. Arcane Denial, 1 and a blue, counter target spell. Its controller may draw up to 2 cards. At the beginning of the next turn's upkeep, you draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So I like the fact this replaces itself. I also like the fact it's a single blue pip. I do not like giving my opponents a double 2 cards, but I figure in a deck like this where we're playing at a lower power level, it's probably okay. Decisive Denial. So this is another blue-green for an instant. Choose 1. Target creature you control fights target creature you don't control, or counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3. So it's kind of like a mana leak effect on somebody's spell. It's got to be a non-creature spell though. Rewind, 2 and 2 blue for counter target spell. Untap up to 4 lands. Okay. Vapor Snag. Return target creature card to its owner's hand. Its controller loses 1 life. And then last but not least, we have an unsubstantiate. So 1 and a blue, return target spell or creature to its owner's hand. So it's kind of like a counter spell. It's kind of like a bounce spell. I kind of like this card. This is one of my favorite cards to play, even though people don't always like it. All right, and then the mana base is up here if you care. So, I mean, like I said, this is very much leaning into Tawnos being able to copy my beasts and my birds. If Tawnos is in my graveyard or is in my command zone and I can't get him out because I don't have the mana or he's dead too regularly, then I'm going to have a hard time deploying this and having fun. But I'm hoping at a lower power level that people are going to have fun playing this and say, yeah, you know what? Stick Tawnos. We're not worried about the beast particularly. We're going to do other things. So, that's the deck. If you want to see the deck list down below, by all means, please go see it. It's up on Moxfield. You can see for yourself. If you want to see any of our other deck lists, they're also all available on Moxfield. You can follow that link and see all the other decks that I've highlighted here on the show. Also, you can follow us at the link in the show notes to our weekly podcasts. We recently got another episode out, so by all means, go check it out. You may see it now listed as Garbage or Great. We're slowly transitioning our name away from the Epic Experiment to Garbage or Great, but we're still not 100% there all the way yet. Last but not least, please like and subscribe. Help us get and build the following here on the channel to get more people seeing budget-friendly commander decks, budget ideas, and help us get the word out there that we're here, every week talking Magic, talking Commander for all you lovely people out there on the internet. All right? That's what we got. Thanks very much, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Bye.